a story that I will never forget. It was the year 1998, I think, and the Harry Potter books had just been published in America and Latin America. I was born in Mexico City, and I still live here. And I remember when the Harry Potter books came along, everybody was reading them. It was kind of crazy. It was such a phenomenon. But because I was series of books that I fell in love with when I was pretty young are his dark materials books. This is a fantasy trilogy written by the English author Philip Pullman. Again, these are books that I had to read in Spanish at first because I was very young. But now these are the editions that I love the most. They are really beautiful and shiny, and I love the way they look on the shelf. These are copies that I purchased from Blackwell's, which is one of the most amazing bookshops in the world. It is in Oxford, which coincidentally is where the series starts. These books were such an important cornerstone in my life, not just as a reader, but as a person, because they taught me to be critical and to really question the world around me and question what people said. This was a very important message because I grew up in a very closed off and conservative environment, and I went to a very Catholic school all my life, and I think is written in red and green ink because it is a book within a book, and that is something that I really shame, because it is really remarkable and a very fun read. It is the story of a boy who lives in London, but it is a different version of London. The world feels much darker and sinister. This boy, Nathaniel, is a magician, and he summons demons from another dimension, and those demons and creatures help him out. This is really a wonderful fantasy trilogy for people who like the same things that I like. For example, Harry Potter, his dark materials, or maybe the Chronicles of Narnia, or the Artemis Fowl books. What I love about this trilogy is that it feels very unique and different. The magic is really dark and slightly terrifying, but at the same time, these books are hilarious because the character Bartimaeus, which you can see on this cover, he is such a funny, witty, insolent character, and he will say the funniest things, particularly in the footnotes. These books are really special, and I would love for more people to read them, because I really think they will love them. So